Hey everybody, welcome back to DABEL Tech Talks. Great to see everybody again. I have a great guest on tap for today. His name is Tim McDearmon. He is a senior project manager and a scrum master. We're going to talk about project management trends and challenges. One of my kind of favorite topics. Many of you know me, I've spent 25 years in the project management field as well. So it's definitely an area that's near and dear to my heart. So I'm looking forward to engage with Tim today and explore a couple of his favorite topics as well. So let me tell you a little bit about myself first. So my name is Dale Bondanza. My company is DAB Enterprises LLC. Our mission at DAB is to help companies obtain their next tier of success despite the forces set against them through a passionate focus on people, process, and technology in that order. Don't get it wrong. Technology are the table stakes. I'm very concerned about process. That's why I have one of those pesky green belts, as you see down below. And without the right amount of people and the right people on the team, you can't have a good process, so shouldn't have to worry about technology. So again, people, process, technology in that order. Don't get it wrong. With me today is my special guest, Tim McDearmon. Tim is a self-proclaimed project management nerd. He is a technology leader that loves to be an agent of positive change. He is an emotionally intelligent servant leader. Tim believes that project management is not just a business skill, but it's an essentially important life skill. Couldn't agree more. He loves to build new leaders. He has over 20 years of experience in IT, information technology, with a specific expertise in enterprise custom software application development in a distributed team environment. Tim is also a DTM, which is a distinguished Toastmaster, and we'll talk about a little bit about that at the end of our conversation today as well. So with that, Tim, did I miss anything?
No, I'm very impressed with myself after hearing all of that. That's a great introduction. Thank you for doing that.
Not a problem. Thank you. Okay, let me stop sharing my cover slide now, and we'll just get into a little conversation here. And so before the call, Tim, you and I were talking, and let me just make sure because I know I've flubbed this up before. It's just you and me as far as you can see right now. I'm not sharing anymore, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
We both love technology when it works. Technology is awesome when it works. So some of the things you and I were talking about from a project management perspective, we were talking about trends, and we were talking about, probably the biggest one from a technology perspective these days is artificial intelligence, followed closely by, cloud computing. So from your perspective and what you've seen out there in the industry, how are they impacting project management and software development from what you've seen?
They are impacting project management greatly. They are being even incorporated into the project management tools that we use. So there's Asana, which came from Facebook, very much AI, and another one. But so artificial intelligence is good. It's good in that it can help us. It's very predictive. You can put your plans in there, and it can review your plans and tell you where you're going to have crunches for your resources or where you might have other risks that you have to be aware of. So it can give you that kind of forewarning and help you make better plans. And it's
Okay.
also okay.
Yeah, no, and I know it's because the other thing you and I talked about, and it's funny. I was curious if you've used it or yet or not, because I know we've both been pushed from a PMI perspective because we're both PMPs as
Yeah.
well to use the PMI. It's Infinity, right? That's the name of the.
Infinity.pmi.org. If you haven't been there, you need to
Okay.
go there and try it out. And yes, I'll try it out.
Yeah. Do you have to be a member? I forget. Do you have to be a PMI member to use it?
Probably so. PMI pretty much charges everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, for all our fellow PMs, program managers, project directors, PMOs, definitely a good tool to use for exactly as you said. Anticipate risks, anticipate
It's
resource
not,
allocation overflows, etc.
it's like Chat GPT only for project managers, and it uses the PMI's resources and trainings, etc. Inside of it. It's loaded with all of that stuff. So yeah, you can use it to for just about any. You can use it to just write a document, write a letter. You could use it to research something. You could use it to create your own use your own coach or your own trainer. It's just there for you, I'm I have it bookmarked on my browsers because I'm in it all the time.
Nice, nice. Now the flip side of what we were talking about there was the cloud side too. So from a cloud perspective, how has that affected your world?
Everything is in the cloud. The projects we do are in the cloud, and the tools that we're used to do the project are in the cloud. So you have to be very familiar with it. Um, I had the AWS CCP, the certification, the basic certification, and they all of AWS cloud resources. So I recommend that highly if you're a project manager working in the cloud. Familiarize you with all their cloud tools, etc.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't think you mentioned that one previously. Tell me more about that one. That sounds like something I might need to explore, or I might need to look to see if there's an Azure equivalent to that, because my particular current company uses Azure, not so much AWS. But tell me what the CCP certification is.
It is an overview of all of the things that Amazon, all the services inside of AWS, and what each function does, and when to use it, when to not to use it. And it's a very hands-on certification. You go in and you do when you're training. You go in and you have to get your own AWS account and use it to do the projects that you're when you're learning to get certified. Um, so
Okay.
it's very good. I saw a lot of Amazon employees have this certification on their LinkedIn profile.
Hmm.
So that's why I got it.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting. And I apologize if my email chimed in. I'm going to close my email now while I'm thinking about it. But it's interesting that you bring up the certification side because one of the other areas.
AWS Cloud Certified Practitioner. That's what
Oh,
the
there you go. That's what CCP stands for. Cloud Certified Practitioner. And if you remind me after we wrap up today, I'll make sure I put that link in the in the podcast in the video. So that's a great ad. I'm glad you mentioned that. And along those lines, as you're kind of recommending that potential certification for our fellow project managers out there, that's another area that we spoke about, right? Was leadership, coaching, what it means to be a true servant leader. One of the things I showed you when we were kind of doing a little bit of show and tell on this is a company or two ago, I had a colleague that gave out holiday presents to all of the other leaders in the organization, and it was literally a little silver platter, and on it she had written, kind of taped to the silver platter, that the primary job of a leader is to serve and to serve others. So it was kind of neat. It was kind of a neat reminder to keep on our desk. But I was curious from your perspective. You've obviously been a leader and a coach to other project managers and other people. What are some of your strategies for developing high performing teams and or high performing individuals?
performing teams. Oh, well, yes, I like servant leadership when you're dealing with teams. And that's my kind of default mode. Now, things might go wrong, and you might have to step in and take more control over the situation and be more dogmatic with them. But as a default, it's servant leadership. And to make, I like the team charters, the team agreements. Setting those things up first helps the team to kind of avoid a lot of the things that cause problems for teams. It defines up front how they're going to handle conflict resolution, how they're going to do escalations when there's a problem and it's beyond something they can do, when to escalate it, who to escalate it to. It defines their roles for them so that they each not only know their individual role in the team, but they also know the roles and responsibilities of their team players. So that helps them to interact a lot better. So a good team charter is a good place to start because it helps accelerate the team to get them to a high performing team. They got to go through, forming, norming, storming, performing, etc. It can kind of accelerate that for the team.
Okay.
So do one of those up front, and anything that could go wrong, try to deal with it there in the charter so that they know what to do when something bad does happen.
Okay.
You automatically follow the process in the charter.
Within that charter, and I know I might be springing this question on you because we didn't talk about it recently, but I had an example that literally happened to me today. So I was curious about you too. In that same charter, do you sometimes put kind of like, do you include the RACI matrix as far as, who's technically accountable and responsible for certain areas of the team? I was debating that today, and I was just curious if you do that.
I do cover that, not necessarily in the RACI matrix, but when we create, in there we put what the roles are and the responsibilities for each
Okay.
of them.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that also define the team's kind of place in the overall organization?
It sets goals for the team, so in that way it kind of does that. It sets
Okay.
the goals and the vision, so they know what their goals are. Which so it doesn't really directly define where they're at in the organization. Maybe
Okay.
that would be a good thing to include in some cases, but in general, I don't usually do that. But
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about the racy thing because that was something I was struggling with today because I'm currently with a small company and I know that sometimes they struggle as they're maturing and as they're growing as a company and as I'm trying to help grow their project management practices. I have found and similar to yourself, recently started to put together a team charter for the project management team, and that was one of the things I kind of waffled with was how granular to make that charter. I didn't want it to be over prescriptive, but I like how you said it to so that they at least have a baseline and an understanding that when stuff inevitably, happens, stuff happens in project management that they kind of know where to go back to like, oh, okay, if that happens, do plan B.
yes, they know who to alert whenever something goes wrong, and how they. It also defines about how the team is going to work together, how they're going to collaborate, what meetings are they going to have,
Okay.
and what tools they could use to do that.
Okay.
Define all that up front. And this is a document that they work together with the team on it. You don't just tell them, you work with them to get their ideas, incorporate that. And then at the end, when it's all said and done, get their sign off on it.
Okay. Even though they're signing off on it, do you consider it to be a living document? I'm interested in that too. Okay.
So you do your retrospectives or your lessons learned meetings.
Right.
You incorporate your team charter into that and make any updates necessary.
For the next project. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Nice. That's interesting. That's good stuff. Well, so part of the other challenge that I've been running into lately, and a team charter is kind of a good kind of segue into this because if you look across, in particular the United States, there's been this big effort across corporate America to RTO, return to office. But we also find that, especially those of us in the information technology field, that those rules don't necessarily apply. So there's still a fair amount of our fellow IT folks who are hybrid or remote. And I'm curious from a project management perspective, especially when, literally the BAs that work with us, the other PMs that work with us, when you have the ability to sit in a room with somebody or walk into somebody's office or cubicle and have an actual discussion and a actual social emotional interaction and connection with them, it's one thing. But what are some of the challenges that or opportunities I can also say that you've experienced managing remote teams, and how have you adapted your project management practices and principles to make remote and hybrid folks better engage?
Yes, so engagement has become challenged by the fact that we're now working remotely, a lot of us, and um, but the tools are getting better and better at helping people, not just like Teams. It used to be you used it to communicate with other people that were working remote, but now it's more evolving to a tool that you work together collaboratively at the same time on the same document, and it helps the sharing of the documentation and all the work process. It integrates with a lot of the like GitHub, etc. So the team members can almost work exclusively inside of Teams and do all of their work using these integrations, etc. But it takes care of the work, but it doesn't take care of the bonding of the people.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
bond people.
Right.
You have to have nice relationships with these people. So as a project manager, I try to schedule a one-on-one, one-to-one meeting with my team members at least once a month to get to know them better. And we talk about, and we have the type of meeting where what's said in that meeting stays in that meeting. It's not to
Sure.
be shared with them. So we can open up and talk about the real issues and challenges that people are experiencing. You may see that this person is underperforming and thinking they're just don't care about their job, but then you can get them into a one-to-one meeting and find out, well, their mother is in the hospital and they're
Right.
having to take care of them, etc. So you've got to have those types of conversations with people. So you got to create a safe place for those conversations to happen. And that's what the one-to-one meetings are about.
Right. Yeah, I reflect this. You touched on something that I literally, hand to God, said this today to one of my project managers. She came in because she was asking about, one of the projects we were working on. And I said, something to the effect that, that's the difference between the art and the science of project management. And those of us in the field, we kind of joke that the science of project management in and of itself, I mean, obviously we've been doing it for a long time. We have all kinds of initials after our name, but the science of project management is one thing. It's critical path, it's risk matrices, it's issue resolution, it's setting up meetings. But the art of project management, I think, is kind of what you just eloquently tapped in there, that the personal engagement, the relationships, the having virtual happy hours.
It's people, process, and technology in
Thank
that
you.
order. People
Thank you.
first. Yeah,
People
that is
first. Yeah. um are there any, if you had to think of any challenges that maybe you've had, can you think of any recent challenges you've had with that?
with the people side.
Yeah.
Oh, um,
Well, with the remote, people being hybrid, challenge engaging them. I mean, certainly during the pandemic, we went through every possible scenario of, even you and I talked before we went live tonight that, my dog just got home from daycare. So this is in the evening, Eastern time for those who don't know. But, so the dog just got home from daycare and I know she wants desperately to come into my office and say hello. But I was like, no, not until after I get done talking to Mr. McDearmon.
So I don't, in IT, we've kind of been doing this. We were kind of the leaders in experimenting with this technology, and
True.
we've been doing it for a while. So
True.
we're more adept at it than the regular business people are now experiencing it. So we know how to deal with it. So I don't have any. You just lock the door on the room and you silence your phone
Right.
and get yourself something to drink
Yep.
while you're talking because your throat gets dry.
Yeah.
And you have to educate yourself in Zoom a little bit because
Right.
since you're the IT guy, you're the ones expected to kind of host the meeting as far as
Right.
the tool is concerned and set it up. But I find it kind of fun to do those things. I like to play with the technology, so I don't really have a challenge with it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I agree, and I think we find, it's funny. We happen to be doing this podcast over Zoom, but on any given day, I have to switch between Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Cisco WebEx and Google Meet. And I'll go into one room and all of a sudden I can't hear and I see somebody's talking. Oh, wait, I gotta put my headphones on because this one's directed here. Or wait, I gotta switch the microphone and switch the camera. But yeah, that's the fun part about technology that some people don't
yeah.
appreciate.
Especially today, if you're going to go on a job search and you're going to go on interviews, I guarantee you it's going to be all. The first
Yeah.
few will be online via Zoom or Teams.
Yeah.
You need to get familiar with that if you're not.
Right. Exactly. Well, so it's funny. So we were talking about kind of tips and tricks from a remote perspective, and previous to that, we're talking kind of a little bit about coaching. One of the things, again, I also appreciated about some of our previous conversations is, you've given a fair amount of career advice to our younger project managers, and I was even just thinking about it when we were talking about technology, and I was gonna kind of prompt you with a question to see if you've had any generational leadership
Yeah.
challenges with right now it's part of my spiel that we have four generations in the workforce right now, from boomers to zoomers and X Gen and Y Gen in the middle. And, in a couple of years, we're going to add Alpha Gen to the workforce. So from a career advice perspective, as younger folks, be it Gen Z, maybe Alphas, maybe even Gen Y to some extent, are considering moving into project management or transitioning into that field, what advice would you share with them?
Well, the younger generation, they grew up with the technology, so the technical side they know. So it's for them, it's not so much teaching them how to do the technology, how to do the technical stuff. They can do it like that,
Right.
and I don't. Their brains are just wired, so they make decisions very quickly. Things that would take me an hour or so, you know. So you kind of have to respect that when you're dealing with them. What So they have the technical side down, but they're the geeks. They have the technical skills, but then they've been dealing with people through the computer so much that their
Yeah.
skills that with their people skills
Right.
are going to bounce off. So that's where they need us as leaders. That we need to be there to coach them through their career choices and through how to how to do conflict resolutions, how to make friends, how to network, etc. Even when you're an employee, you still have to network. You have to network. It's inside the company so that you have the friends that you need when you need them to get their help.
Mhm.
They need to learn how to do that. Um, so try and coach them through those things. Um, I like to take them to a Toastmasters meeting.
Okay.
I'm on Toastmasters.
Okay.
So they can use that to work on their communication skills, and also they can use that to work on their speech leadership skills, etc. Which working on their leadership skills helps them develop emotional intelligence and helps them to social intelligence, helps them to work on the communication. It helps them in so many different ways.
So that's a perfect segue because I was going to ask you about your certification as a DTM and what that means. What is again, most of the audience, if they're watching, if your project management background, they know what a PMP is typically. They know what a CBAP, a certified business analyst professional is. But DTM was even a new one for me when you gave that one to me. So I'm curious what that involves.
It is. I cherish it more than I cherish my PMP. To be
Wow,
honest, I
cool.
mean, it was getting your PMP was studying material and taking an exam.
Right.
DTM is like becoming an Eagle Scout. You
Mm,
do projects, you do work, and then you become an Eagle Scout by completing all the projects that they have lined up for you. And
okay.
to me, that's more character building than becoming a PMP. You learn a lot, but it doesn't change you as a person.
The PMP does not. Right.
DTM,
Yeah.
will build your character because you will
Okay.
do projects for and it Toastmasters is not your daddy's Toastmasters. What it was back then, it's not now. Now
Okay. Interesting.
it's equally about communication skills and about leadership skills. And they have, so in
Mhm.
the DPM program, they built in both, and you have to achieve both sides of it in order to get your DTM. And it can take about a year and a half to 2 years to get through all the projects that you got to do.
So wait, you just said something kind of subtly there. You said there's both projects and something else, and I missed the something else.
There's speeches,
Oh, speeches. Okay.
speeches, larger and larger speeches. Your
Okay.
speeches in board
Okay.
meetings, and then you'll graduate to where you're running actual workshop type
Okay.
presentations
Okay.
and at a conference even. So
Okay.
you do that on the communication path, and at the same time you're on that communication path, you're also on a leadership path where you're taking on
Oh, okay.
progressively larger and larger
Ah,
leadership roles in order to get your DTM. And I'm in it more for that side. The leadership side is awesome. Way to, it's a great leadership learning lab. You can go learn leadership, experiment, and improve, get feedback. You get feedback on the leadership things that you do over there and build your leadership skills, and then take those skills with you to work
mhm.
and accelerate your career, help you reach a higher level of leadership in your career.
Okay. That's brilliant. And clearly, again, from our past conversations, I can tell even before, you and I have known each other for kind of the better part of a couple of years now, but I can tell how you've integrated that even into your professional life. So one of the things we said earlier was project management is not just a business skill, but it's a life skill, and a lot of the youth could benefit from understanding beyond the technology, kind of as you said earlier, that planning is an essential life skill, understanding that life is often an investment, that even though we joke that man makes plans and God laughs, part of project management teaches you to have a risk management plan, a backup plan, a contingency plan, a plan B, and even and again, I like how you bring that together with the DTM side, with the Toastmaster side, because I have another project manager on my team who and I'm just going to ask you from a Toastmaster perspective, if you've covered this, or if you've maybe even given this similar advice to a colleague, be it in Toastmasters or a project manager. The challenge this particular project manager is, and if he watches this, I'm sure he'll contact me. But he he's the type of guy who goes in to lead a meeting, as we do when we're project managers, right? And he's talking through the agenda, and he's asking people statuses, and he's asking them, talking to the BAs, and they're developing a work product and tasks. But he's a guy who is not comfortable with dead air, with silence. And he always feels the need that, like, he'll ask a question. And again, like, we're often on Zoom and Teams, right? But you might be displaying something. So sometimes when you're displaying something, you can't see all the cameras, and you can't see, or people have their cameras off, and you can't see facial expressions. So he'll just keep talking and talking and talking. and I'm trying to coach him on, and I won't use this real, but it's okay to just say nothing for 5 seconds.
Ask, do you want the audience to feel like they can interact with you during this meeting? So,
Right.
So start asking questions. Maybe the audience is stuck on something. So start asking questions to get the audience engaged in what you're saying. You may have lost them. They may have gone to sleep.
Yeah. Yes. He says that jokingly, like, oh, I guess everybody turned their camera off. They must be sleeping. And I'm like, no, call on somebody specifically. Like, if you don't think they're engaging, or if you don't think your message is resonating, say, hey, John, what do you think about that? Hey, Marcelo, what do you think about that? Even if it's like, yeah, no, we're good. We got it. Like, some interaction, but also that silence.
Good information. They got it. That's good information.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, I think that hit on all our big points. Let me see how we're doing on time here. We're doing pretty good. Okay, so any other topics that you want to bring up, Tim?
Well, we could talk about security, and security is becoming a bigger and bigger issue as time goes on.
Okay.
And as you need to consider it, it used to be kind of that we would think about it right at the end of the project, what security changes need to be made for this to work. But now, with cloud systems, especially keeping that data out in the cloud and keeping it secure, it's important to address security from the very beginning, address security in the design, and probably, if you can, get somebody certified, somebody experienced in security, and get them on your team and keep them there.
Okay.
So that's one thing to talk about. Another thing is, we talk about all these technologies, but it can be very hard to find the right people with those skills, especially the newer AI things like that. There's not that many people around yet that have the experience with that yet.
Right.
So you have to, when you're building your project plans, you have to build that time in. It may take you a little while to find somebody. You may have to train somebody. You may have to barter for somebody. They'd have to work 50% on somebody else's project, 50% on your project, et cetera. So take that into consideration as well.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a great value add as well. Both security as well as kind of that distributed environment. Cool. All right. Anything else that you wanted to bring up?
I'm just delighted to be on your podcast. Thanks for having me.
Oh, not a problem. Thank you. And I know these days, I don't know, do you mind telling folks where you're at these days, residing, that is?
I am not in San Antonio, but I'm a little bit west of San Antonio, Texas,
Okay.
in a little city called Kerrville.
Okay.
But I could serve the San Antonio market or the Austin market, Dallas,
Okay.
Central Texas, or if it's a remote job, I could work on a remote job.
And you're not too far from Austin, right?
Not too far from Austin. You're right.
Okay. Um,
Austin,
yeah,
San Antonio, Dallas.
and yeah, you and I have talked this before, and it's funny because when you said you were in Kerrville, I laughed because I have a nephew who's a sheriff's deputy there in Kerrville. So if you ever get pulled over and the last name looks familiar, keep that in mind. Don't get pulled over, but if you do, keep that in mind. There's a bonanza running around Kerrville somewhere. I I have a couple family members in San Antonio.
And if any of the people listening to this would like to find me on LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile is linkedin.com/in/Tim McDearmon, no spaces or punctuation, just TIMMCDEARMON.
Perfect. Yes, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And then, and for the other folks that can see my background, I have my LinkedIn and my YouTube QRS code up there. So feel free to smash those during the program. Hook up with me. I will repost this broadcast to my YouTube channel, Dale Bondanza on YouTube, and I'll put a link out there in LinkedIn as well. So with that, let me share my closing screen here for us, Tim. So again, today, thank you, Tim, for joining me. I really enjoyed our chat today on project management trends and challenges, and I am positive that you and I will see each other again very soon. So appreciate your time, and thanks for letting folks know how to reach out to you if they want to get in touch.